Okay, this is going to be a truth in music. And the reason that these music videos are such a perfect vehicle for conveyance of information is because no one even questions what they mean. Jay Dreamers does truth in movies. A lot of people do truth in movies breakdowns. But in a movie, the viewer, the audience, is watching a storyline, trying to keep up with the storyline, understanding the concepts that are being conveyed, yet they still can embed a secondary storyline within a movie where people are actually watching and paying attention to the storyline and the plot and what it means, which is what you have to do to even watch a movie. In music videos, no one even pays attention to a storyline or a plot or what it means. They blow it off as if it means nothing. It's just interesting pictures and pretty sounds and doesn't have any plot or narrative or storyline that's being conveyed. That's why music videos are a perfect vehicle for this type of information. So this music video came out 9 days ago. It's called Whatever by Kygo and Ava Max, and we'll talk more about Kygo, but it starts out with this scene with the telephone booth. Jay Dreamers and others have identified this phone booth symbolism as having something to do with time travel, like a vehicle that transports you from one realm to another or from one world to another, like teleportation. And this phone booth and the car that she's standing by, these are pretty much the only two props in the whole music video. And that telephone booth is a vehicle of sorts. So even if Jay and these other people have it wrong about maybe they've misinterpreted some of these symbols, I have come to the conclusion and am 100% convinced. It's like there's only one story and everyone's telling the same story or depicting the same story with their symbols. That story is the story of the plasma apocalypse, the reset. These days, the elite are getting ready to jump in their bunkers and they only refer to this event as the event. And in this song, she talks about there's a place in my heart when it all comes crashing down every time I hear your name out in public. Out in public? Yeah, like, shh, don't say the name of the event, just call it the event. Because if anyone knows, and she says, there's a place that I go every time that you're around, it's just me and the knots in my stomach. Every time what comes around? The plasma apocalypse. Where do you go? In my bunker with my knots in my stomach. Soon I'll be talking about and showing you the airborne aircraft carriers, which for me would be a much better place to be than underground. And she's got this necklace she's holding in her hand right there, and it's got a cross hanging from it, and you'll see 3 crosses on her neck a little later in the video. These are symbols referencing the greater story that she's telling. This is not just about a love affair between a man and a woman, though that is the most common way for this secondary storyline to be concealed within a love story. Vanessa VA understands this. She calls it retrocausal language. I call it Muse Messages. But a love story between a man and a woman is often used as a cover story, if you will, to encapsulate this other storyline that's being told. The one story that everyone's telling. Here you can see the cross that she's holding on that necklace. There's a reason. It's not just a prop to give her something to hold in her hand, randomly grab something off the shelf with no meaning. That has meaning. The lyrics say, whatever, I'll be here and you stay there. And 2 years is not forever. What 2 years are they referring to? That's a very specific amount of time. It's when we separate and go our separate ways. We'll talk about that more in a minute. But that 2 years sounds maybe kind of like the reference to 6 to 8 years in the music by Smash Mouth called Walking on the Sun. So don't delay, act now. Supplies are running out. Allow if you're still alive. 6 to 8 years to arrive. And if you follow, there may be a tomorrow. But if the offer's shunned, you might as well be walking on the sun. 2 years, that ain't forever. I'll be here, you stay there, and I'm not gonna shed no tears. 6 years ago I would have, but part of my life process has led me to a point of detachment where I won't shed tears. I know people have had long enough. If the world burning up around them from the inside out is not enough to get them to change their ways, nothing ever will be. They are a lost cause. Now she switches dresses and there's 3 large crosses around her neck. Cross? You mean like Jesus died on the cross? You mean like the planet of the crossing? And then it shows this piece of glass floating in the air. The shattered glass symbolism, shattered chandelier, shattered windows, shattered mirrors, shattered light bulbs, all are referring to when it all comes crashing down, like she says in the lyrics, that highest, hardest glass ceiling, what Jay Dreamers refers to as the depressurization event, when the firmament busts open and giant chunks of ice come falling down. And then you see many of these pieces of glass or ice that look like something that might be hanging from a chandelier floating around her. And they do show reflection of pink clouds. Maybe that's the clouds that Mr. MB3 shows in almost every one of his videos these days, which used to be isolated to the Arctic Circle, just like the Northern Lights. But now that our magnetic field has dissipated to the point that it has, it allows the plasma through to create these colorful clouds that you can see any day of the week looking in the proximity of the sun with polarized sunglasses. Or maybe it's referencing the red sky after the spectrum shift, the light spectrum shift. And this is the next scene. Maybe it is referencing the light spectrum shift of the red sky. All of these pieces of glass that are floating around reassemble themselves at the very end of the video, and most people wouldn't notice it because it's not meant for most people to notice. And then you see these things coming out of the sky that look kind of like comets, asteroids. And then they show you an aerial vehicle that's unlike anything I've ever seen, with 6 propellers. Looks almost like, I don't know, that airplane they say is up on Mars. It has 6, 8, 10, 12, 15 propellers and then solar panels on the wings. But what this is indicating is maybe an aerial vehicle that most people don't get access to, like an airborne aircraft carrier that we'll cover in an upcoming video. The ACHR on the tail and whatever that symbol is on the tail is not meaningless. I don't know the meaning of it, but I can assure you it's not meaningless. So if anyone wants to take a shot at what that symbol on the tail is, let me know. I have no clue. Here you can see 2 trails where those comets or whatever they are come in. And then in the next, come on Russell, bad timing. In the next scene you can see 3 of them hit the same spot. So here's all the pieces floating in the sky when the sky is falling, like Adele's song, When the Sky Falls. We'll cover that here in a minute. And here, right at the end, they reassemble themselves. You can kind of see them all coming together. Most people would not notice this part. It's the very last scene of the video, which means it's kind of important. And as it reassembles itself, you can see her reflection appear in like a solid glass mirror. So the glass reassembling itself, I hope the audio and video hasn't gotten out of sync yet, but the glass reassembling itself is very similar to that which is depicted in the 21 Pilots music video Hype, where the roof caves in Here you can see there's an explosion that comes up out of the roof while they're up there playing on top of the roof. And this is the part where he falls in to the house. And then the roof reassembles itself. All the pieces that fell in then magically get sucked back up. The roof repairs itself, and they rearrange the furniture inside and carry on. This is where the pieces are magically floating back up to seal the holes in the roof. The shattered glass unshatters itself. And that's a depiction using a mirror that's hanging on the wall. And it's all in the same sequence of scenes where everything is reassembling and re-repairing itself. Here's where the hole in the roof gets sealed. There's only one story, and everyone's telling the same story. To that, I will add Skyfall by Adele. Skyfall is where we start. You can listen to the lyrics and hear the same story being told. This is a music video that I came across just today by Kygo and Miguel. Almost everything by Kygo is with one of these other artists. He has a long line of people that want to make a music video with him. Artists that are very good in their own right. There is something about Kygo that every artist wants to get in on. He is the man telling the story. Anyway, this is Kygo and Miguel, Remind Me to Forget. And at the very beginning of the video, it shows that there is an electrical component that has to do with this apocalypse because the TV starts flickering and going out, the light bulbs all start flickering and going out, and then they start exploding. Every piece of glass in the room explodes. Mirrors, windows, chandeliers, light bulbs. But it shows you at the very beginning that there's an electrical surge that happens that kicks it off. And then the camera pans upward from that first scene that we just saw. They're moving the camera upward to go look at the ceiling and the hole that's happening. And it shows you the plaster on the ceiling and a drop of water coming through. It's the same story being told over and over. Big ups to Jay for letting us in on the script. And right here in this video, it says, your kisses are just like broken glass on my skin. And the whole video is about broken glass. It's amazingly beautiful. The whole song and this music video. I'll just link it in the description. And it shows this droplet that came down from that hole in the roof while it's saying broken glass. So this isn't necessarily water as much as it is ice, kind of like glass. The symbolism of the broken glass is all over here. That's what the whole music video is about. And the house that they're in that's being destroyed is representative of our world. And it shows you there's electrical sparks that come from the upper left corner of the screen. And then that was another light bulb that just exploded in the upper right, and every piece of glass in here shatters. And there's an electrical component being depicted here as well. It's the plasma apocalypse. There's only one story and everyone's telling it. That's one of the shattered light bulbs that just fell. There's another shattered light bulb that just exploded. There's the window that he was sitting in front of, as something came through the front window, blowing all that glass inward. Another exploding light bulb. And he's wearing a cross too, again. That's not without meaning, willfully and intentionally placed within the storyline being depicted here. Chandelier just dropped. And it's showing this ballet dancer dancing around in the house as it's all destroyed. And one of these mirrors, instead of coming down and shattering and coming off the wall, for just a split second you can see it going back up to the wall. Just the same story being depicted as the reassembling roof of our world that goes back together after the apocalypse. 2 years ain't that long. I've probably showed you enough examples already that you can see that there's a story being depicted here that's using this shattering glass as a representation of the story that's being told, but most people, they don't get it, they don't question it, it doesn't mean anything, it's just music, pretty noises, and pretty pictures. Right here at 2 minutes 35 seconds into the video, you can see one of the mirrors is not falling away from the wall, but moving back up to the wall. Just like in the music video Hype by 21 Pilots, just like in the other one by Kygo that we covered with Ava Max, where the chandelier, the glass, reassembles itself. But all I can use is screenshots or I get a copyright strike, so you'll have to watch the music video yourself. And the whole house is being destroyed, not just the glass, not just the lights. The whole house is exploding from every direction, but there's definitely a huge emphasis on the glass. It's an incredible music video. I'm beating a dead horse here. I just barely came across this video today. So, I'll link it in the description. The title of this song is Remind Me to Forget. And yeah, maybe this dancer is like depicting Kali, the goddess of destruction, doing her dance in the plaza. But there's something, Jay Dreamers talks about that there is a forgetfulness. That's why he calls it ancient oblivion, because after these apocalypses, everyone seems to forget. Whether it's because, for the same reason, you can put a magnet up to a floppy disk or a computer and wipe the memory on the hard drive or the disk. Maybe it's something electromagnetic, or there's something more natural, something we're more familiar with. I saw a family after a fire say that it's like the only thing we remember is everything that happened since the fire, like all of our memories before the fire are kind of wiped out, and all that any of us really remember is since the fire happened. And this happens with any traumatic experience. You disassociate with all of your life experience prior to that traumatic experience. It's part of our survival mechanism, a preservation, self-preservation mechanism of the mind, where everything that happened prior to the cataclysm doesn't matter right now. All you have to worry about and remember and think about is what happened since the cataclysm forward. So maybe that's part of why there is a amnesia that happens after this apocalypse. It's simply part of our self-preservation mechanism, and there's probably something else to it. But the song, the chorus says, "You left your mark, reminding me to forget." And the average person, oh, it's just about a love song between a bad and two lovers, and it went bad, and he's just talking about his experience with his girlfriend. People like Kygo do remember, haven't forgotten, have withheld or maintained their knowledge of this story, the one story that everyone's telling. One of my first Kygo experiences was this music video called Stole the Show, where it's curtains, it's time to go, we out. I'll include it in the description as well. If you can hear it, if you can see it, if you can hear the storyline being told, you can. If you can't, you can't. So I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I'm just going to include this one in the description. Here's a clue from 2.5 minutes into the 5.5 minute music video, where he shows you it's all about this spaceman on the right in the spacesuit. That's throughout the whole video. In that fish tank is the lunar lander right in the center, and the 2 space astronauts to the side of it, to the right and to the left, and a picture of the Earth behind it. Some of you know NASA practices in water, in giant pools, and you've seen air bubbles floating up from their spacesuits, and they say, oh, well, that was just one of our practice runs. We were just practicing in a pool. That's where we practice. So, we'll be able to bounce around on the moon when we really go and do that shit. To the average person that doesn't have the eyes to see, isn't watching the storyline being told, it's just pretty sounds and pretty pictures. These music videos are the perfect vehicle for the conveyance of ideas and understanding, narratives and storylines that go right over the heads of the uninitiated and the unbegun. And regarding that whole moon landing, some of you may remember I made a video titled Snow Guard, Masons and Mormons on Top of the World about this music video by Imagine Dragons, On Top of the World, where they show you a little something about that moon landing. In that video, which I will link in the description, it's a 33-minute breakdown of On Top of the World by Imagine Dragons. I explain that the Imagine Dragons are Mormons, and I show you images of the Masonic Square and Compass and the Order of the Eastern Star within that music video, and they're using Kubrickian language. That pattern is the same pattern. Anyway, I'll let you watch that video if you want. I prove in that video by showing you the Masonic compass and square and the Order of the Eastern Star image behind them that I can see things that most people can't. And you see her putting her finger over her lips. Shh! It's the big secret, the One Eye Club. The one story that they're telling is the one secret that they're all referencing when they do that symbol. That's what Jay says, that the content he covers is the stuff of secret societies. It's the one big secret. And life itself has an initiation process, and we are in the collective initiation. And you notice right above Snow Guard, Masons and Mormons on Top of the World, there's a video titled Playing Make-Believe While the World Burns. That was one of my rant videos that I decided to keep to myself at the time. As you can see, it's still on private and has 1 view from over a year ago. Maybe I'll publicize it. Truth is, I'm going to be making some videos real soon that are going to get into some content that's very deep subject matter. We'll look forward to that. And you see right below Snow Guard, Masons and Mormons is a video titled Attention Flathead County Sheriff's Office, Detectives Division, Brian Hino. Flathead County, Montana put out a notice to the public that they had 6 or 8 simultaneous fires ignite all at once, and they gave you the exact minute of ignition of each of these fires and their exact location, which means it had to be either multiple people doing it or they all ignited simultaneously, and they were looking for help from the public. Anyone who has any information regarding these fires, please help us out. We're lost and we don't know what's going on here. Just thought I'd remind you of that. That's how real this is. While people are playing make-believe while the world burns, the county sheriffs are asking for help because they don't know what they're dealing with. But just to bring it back to the subject at hand with the Muse message and the music, just gonna bring it back real quick. Bring it back. Join our team. Prerequisite to join our team. I will suggest 3 songs by Lorde: Royals, Team, and Tennis Court. I'm not going to look it up and include the links in the description and put in the work. If you want to listen to those songs, Team by Lorde, Royals by Lorde, and Tennis Court. Much like 21 Pilots The Hype, nice to know my kind will be on my side. In Team, we're on each other's team. And we come from cities that you won't see on the screen, but we sure know how to run things. Okay, so I gotta put this out here just so I'll do what I said I was gonna do, because that's one of the things that makes me do it. It's why I'm non-committal for the most part, because once I say I'm gonna do something, I have to do it. Technically, I'm an alien, is how the movie starts, with Jupiter ascending, that shows there is another realm, another society, another civilization that is essentially farming human beings. And she starts out by saying, technically I'm an alien, because she has experiences that alienate her from society and her peers by the end of the movie. But at the beginning of the movie, she's just a regular person cleaning toilets. And then she gets introduced to some of these experiences, and she's assuring the people that are initiating her, no, you got the wrong person. I'm just a nobody. I'm just a maid. I just clean toilets. I'm a nobody. And she starts out the movie, I hate my life. And by the end, the movie actually starts out with her telling you, technically I'm an alien. Well, technically so am I, and technically so are the people that I met along my way. In my journey to independence, the people that I interacted with, Cue Ball, ATM, and some others, the ladies of Elysium, I will call them, the kindred of Elysium. It's what I'll mean when I refer to God from now on. I'm going to make a video recapping some of that stuff so that we can speak, so that I can speak freely under the premise that we're all on the same page, and that the few people that I'm speaking to have a good concept of what I'm speaking about, and for the most part to remind myself of the experiences that I've had, which I've had to disassociate from and compartmentalize for the last 5 or 6 years in order to reestablish a foothold in this 3D reality, to come back and try and get some kids to the garden. We'll be going over that real soon. Especially now that I said it, I'm going to have to do it. And it's something I've felt an urge to do for a while now. And I have taken other videos, other content that's come across my desk, and put it aside because of this other big concept video that I want to get into so that I can speak freely. So I got to do it. We'll see you then.